One, it's Kristen. So we're on part two of the raid on Graymalkin. Of course, this is part one where we last left off. I just like this cover. I think it's cool. Like I love Rogue, and so any cover that she's on, featured on, I I like. And so when we last left, this is the last page of the first part. So we have the two teams, confronting each other. So there is a little bit of an overlap between the two issues. So we open on um, Rogue and Cyclops talking on the phone. So Rogue is explaining to Cyclops the situation. Hey, they took two of our own. We're going in, and Cyclops is basically telling her, no, let my let me and my team handle it. Because if we all show up, then it looks like a declaration of war. But my team and I can handle it, and we can get it in and out quick, sort of thing. And it's interesting because during the course of the conversation, he's like, Anna Marie, are you mad at me? Which, okay, to me that's surprising because that's something an insecure person says. I know me being insecure, I say that to people a lot when I feel like their attitudes change towards me or like the vibe is a little bit different. I'll ask them, are you mad at me? Did I do something? So it's interesting that Gail chose to put that in there kind of to, I guess, show us that Cyclops isn't always, the super confident X-Men leader that we know him to be. To just to remind us that he is human, just like all of us, just like the rest of the X-Men. So Rogue goes back and says, well, that didn't go as well as I thought or as well as I hoped. And so they talk about it and they're gonna, go in anyway. And the kids want to go, you know, Rogue doesn't want them to, but Wolverine's like, hey, they want to. And they're trying to figure out how to get there. And Gambit's like, well, this eye has been talking to me and it's, it's gonna take us there, basically. Which is interesting that Gambit is now hearing, the voice of one of the eyes of Agamotto, which I think this is a cool splash page. So, we're inside the prison. We saw Jubilee and Becca sitting, last issue at the table in the prisoner cafeteria eating. Um, and now they're being taken back to their cells. The warden says, although, Becca, you're free to go. Your parents, basically, your family paid your ransom basically in a sense. And they throw Jubilee in her cell. She is worried about what happened to Beast because remember he got beat up pretty badly by the guards in the last issue. So they throw her in her cell. The warden reminds her of the power dampeners. So now we see, again, like I said, a little bit of an overlap of Cyclops going through the strategy with his team, and they have Becca escorted outside the prison, and they offered to drive her somewhere, but she's like, "No, that's fine. I'll walk." So everyone, is getting in place. Like I said, a little bit of an overlap. And this is awesome because Becca all of a sudden is like Ember to me, Warhorse. And like I said, I love Ember. And well, I mean Calico is, you know, they're 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 together, but I think it's awesome that they have this horse that, has these powers, can, do all these different things. Like I said, it reminds me of She-Ra, which is, you know, I like the original cartoon. I didn't watch it growing up because of course it wasn't, you know, was on TV before I was young or before I was born. But I found it later and I love it. I haven't seen the new one. I mean to me I guess it's the animation of the new one. I'm just not a fan. Like I see it and think, no, that's okay. So I haven't watched that one, but I love the original, even though it was, of course, like a little bit goofy. But anyway, so I Ember makes me think of She-Ra, which is awesome. So Rogue's team is outside of the walls trying to figure out, okay, well, how are we going to get in? Like, how can we do this, without um, basically dying? And then you see Ember and Calico, they make a way, which is awesome. Like I said, I love it. It makes me think of She-Ra, and I loved She-Ra. Like that was, like the 80s cartoons, Jim, love Jim, and She-Ra. Those are the two 80s cartoons that I really love. So they're like, well, I guess now we have our opening. So they go in. Um, and Death Dream, he's funny. Like when they were the splash page I showed you, Jitter was like, "Oh, suicide mission, cool." And Death Dream is like, "Oh, great, awesome." He's like, "Wait, are you joking? That's not nice for you to be joking." And here he makes a little quip that says, like, "I thought I saw demons coming out of the ground. Did anyone else see the demons? Was it just me that saw all the demons coming out of the ground?" Because magic, in this issue, she uses them to distract the guards. So we see Jubilee. She is short-circuiting her power dampeners, and she took a fork from the mess hall, and she's like, "Oh, this is gonna hurt." It does, but she busts herself out. And then this is where, we kind of came in the last issue, where the Psylocke realizes what they've done to the mutants there. They've turned them into things to into trustees, and the Blob bursts through, and Cyclops is like, "I don't want to hurt you," and that's when you know, that was the last panel of the part one, where we saw Rogue and her team. And Ransom and Wolverine, Rogue is the most worried about them, like jumping the gun, fighting, because they're the most, I guess, easily agitated, or however you want to say, however you want to phrase that. Um, so Ransom's like, so what do we do? Do we jump him? And Wolverine's like, no, don't do anything unless he touches. And he says specifically, unless he reaches for his temple, then it's a go. So Quentin is in the air, and he's like, "Hey, there's something, trained on you guys. You better watch out." And he starts taking fire. And so Cyclops reaches for his temple, but this, it's his comlink, and he's talking to Quentin because Quentin just warned him about this. And this guy, I don't think we've seen him before. Scurvy. Warden's talking to him, says scurvy make them angry, and he's like, "Yes, Warden." So obviously another mutant that she has turned, and is using for his purpose, her own purposes. So Ransom is like, "He touched his temple. It's go time." And Wolverine's like, "No, wait, that was just him, activating his comm link." But it's too late. So you see Ransom punching Cyclops, and then you know, she is all like, "Wolverine, you're such a traitor. You betrayed us. You didn't help us look out for us during the Krakoa, So, and then Cyclops blasts Ransom back because he attacked him first. But of course, Rogue doesn't like that because Cyclops is picking on this kid. Even though Cyclops is like, "Hey, stand down, kid, recruit, whatever you are." And of course, Ransom, I mean, he can take it, but still, Cyclops doesn't necessarily know that. So I can understand why Rogue is not happy. So everyone's joining in the fight because, that's what happens. So, I mean, because, Jitter sees Ransom, fighting, and so she jumps in. And then Nightcrawler jumps in order to try to diffuse this situation a little bit. And then Becca has actually gone back into the prison and she found Jubilee and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I found you. I found you." And, the guards are like, "Well, yeah, but we found you too." And so they're like, um, Jubilee's like, "Hey, aren't you the guys that beat up my friend, Beast?" And they're like, "Yeah, do you want to turn?" And she's like, "Well, no, but my friend does." And so here comes Beast to beat up the guards again. So, and okay, this is interesting because that they threw this in here, and the warden says, release the wolf pack. Yeah, the wolf pack. And the her right hand man says, "Well, the AI with them is a little spotty. They could end up attacking our own men." And she's like, "That's what we have med base for." So my thing is, it's interesting that they threw AI in there because that's such a, well, I will say, such a hot topic. I mean, like I get what AI is trying to do. I get it. And it's unfortunately not going away. But at the same time, using like AI generated art, I don't agree with. I have family who are artists, and it's using other people's art, images, other things that people have created and making it up. But but it's taking from other sources. It's not making it up itself because it can't necessarily really do that. It's you program it in and it pulls from stuff that it sees. So I don't agree with it. I don't agree with AI art. I mean, I just like I it- like I said, it's not going away, so I'm all for like restrictions and stuff because I could see it just demolishing like a whole industry basically. So, yeah, I don't agree with it. I mean, I get it. It's a cool tool, but at the same time, I don't agree with it because what it could potentially do to the whole artistic community and the whole artistic industry. So, because some companies, they'll realize, oh, hey, it's just cheaper just to have this computer do it instead of actually hiring like artists. Anyway, so okay, I will get off my soapbox now, but I was just interesting that they threw that in there. Because it is an issue that we're dealing with today. It is a topic. Like I said, I get it. AI is kind of cool. It has its usefulness, but at the same time, I don't agree with it in terms of art. So anyway, and this is interesting that a Death Dream confronts Magic and says, um, "Let me show you a realm so much worse than Limbo," which that to me is really interesting because we've seen Limbo. It's basically kind of reminiscent of hell. Demons, everything. So like that would be kind of interesting to see them interacting even more because like his version of Limbo, his realm is like super dark and creepy and just yeah, just it would be interesting to see that explored further. So, Rogue is like, "Hey, don't, Cyclops is like, don't make me blast you." And Rogue just says, "Well, did you not just see me absorb the blob? Go ahead and take your shot." And Scott's like, "I already did." And here comes Juggernaut busting through, and Rogue's like, "Oh, great. We were doing good. We were holding our own until Juggernaut came." And so he busts through, and what he does is uncover this. And Cyclops is like, "Wait, Rogue, do you see that?" And basically, it's a cell, and they think that maybe that's where the professor is being held. Which makes sense because he's like one of the number one mutants in the world, especially, considering all he's done, all he stands for. So he's dangerous in both for his ideology, martyrdom, and his powers. So it would make sense that they would keep him, locked away in the cell where they don't want him to get out. But at the same time, if it is him, of course, that's super predictable that that's who it is. So anyway, they're confronted by the trustees, Blob, Toad, Siren, and the Wolf Pack, and they're like, "Hey, you guys need to leave now or you don't leave at all." So that's where it ends. And of course, there's two more parts to it. So, and interestingly enough, okay, I'm going to read you what the last um, part four says. Okay, an all-out action issue that will affect both teams and the entire mutant community with devastating results. Okay, whenever they hype up something, like, don't get me wrong, I love X-Men, but whenever they hype up something so much, I'm a little skeptical. Like sometimes they're like, "Oh, it'll affect the mutant community forever." Forever is relative. I mean, look how many times Jean has died. Uh, Krakoa, they, I mean, tons of them have died, and come back to life. So, I mean, you know, the whole, affecting the mutant community with devastating results, that's relative. I mean, I guess with being an X-Men fan for so long, reading through so many stories, it just, you kind of take it with a grain of salt because, yeah, usually it's pretty hyped up, which don't get me wrong, like I said, it's X-Men. I'm gonna read it. But at the same time, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. Like, the whole devastating results forever change the mutant community sort of thing. I mean, even huge events like M Day with Scarlet Witch, the whole no more mutants, and then they drop down to 98 mutants, and then, it just basically kind of gotten undone, and there's millions of mutants again, and, then they, like, I mean, I'm not gonna, I'm not saying anything against X-Men or the writers. It's hard, it would be hard to come up with that many decades of stories and try to make them different. No shade at all. None. But like I said, just being such a fan for so long, you just take those things with just a little grain of salt. Like, okay, I'm interested to see where this story goes, but I don't know if it's gonna have that far-reaching effect that, you know, they're saying. Um, it will. So anyway, but yeah, excited for part two. Um, and the latest in my, and you can, turn it off right now if you don't want to watch this part. I'm just gonna talk about something for a second. So the saga with this, is I ordered it because my local comic book store does not sell comic books, does not sell new comic books. I went to the next town over in their comic book store and they were sold out. Like they sold out that morning. And I guess it's probably everyone that's longtime customers in their pull box totally understand. So I ordered this one from a store, an online store, got it, great. I tried to order um X-Men 8 9 because I get a subscription from Marvel for this one, but not this one. And yeah, so they were sold out. So I had to find a different online store to get X-Men 9 from. So hopefully, hopefully that is a reputable store and I actually get it. Because I mean, I looked, I try to do a little bit of research, like, oh, they have a Facebook page, okay, they have an Instagram, but unfortunately nowadays that doesn't mean a whole lot because anyone could have a Facebook/Instagram page. But so here's hoping, fingers crossed, because I looked at so many different online retailers, uh, and yeah, everyone was sold out already, which is great. I mean, that means X-Men's doing really good, which I'm happy for. I'm happy that X-Men's doing great and that is popular again. Because that means we'll just get more X-Men properties. We'll get, another season of X-Men 97, which I mean, I'm ready for them to fix the issues, fix the things that broke. Um, I won't talk about that in this video because it's already running long. Um, more movies, like where the X-Men are incorporated into the MCU, which we kind of already had that happen, with Deadpool, kind of bringing mutants in to that world. So yeah, I'm excited that X-Men's popular, and that just means more X-Men stuff. So I'm all for it. So until next time, bye.